Hello everyone and welcome to episode 2 of Inside the Parlor. I'm your host, Corey Santistevan, coming at you from my garage. On today's episode, I have one of my good friends, filmmaker, outdoor enthusiast, Aaron Rickel. Aaron's passion for film has given him some great opportunities to work on several TV shows and use his creative talent to produce work for some big name companies. His love for the outdoors and film gives him a sweet opportunity to get out into our world and document his adventures, whether it's behind the camera or collaborating with his team on an online magazine called the LA Field Guide. Aaron and I will get to catch up and talk about what inspires him as a filmmaker, conquering your fears, and that one time he saved my life. Welcome to Inside the Parlor. Hey, what's up, Aaron?
Dude, hey. This place is awesome.
Welcome to Inside the Parlor, man.
Hey.
Good to see you. Come on in, grab a seat. Today I'm giving Aaron an undercut, dropping it down tight on the sides and only cutting the top just a bit so we can keep a big disconnection in the haircut. For the styling, I'll use one of my personal favorite products, Awapui Hydro Cream Whip by Paul Mitchell. It gives a lightweight hold, smells great, and will put a little grip in his hair so we can slick it, bind it, and throw it up. Then we'll let him drift off to his favorite planet while I give him a straight razor shave. We'll leave his face hydrated and smoother than a garbanzo bean. Oh, and I'll make sure to give him some of that hot sauce. Feel that?
Mm-hmm.
For high school, you went to Chapman, right?
Yeah, Chapman University down in Orange County.
Dude, because you've always loved film, you've always kind of had a passion for that. So what made you choose Chapman over somewhere else?
Well, it was... starting off for me, like, going into college, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. I was going to be a civil engineer, and then I was in calculus, and that didn't go super well. So I was like, well, I probably can't be doing math the whole rest of my life.
Right.
And so it's just kind of, I was looking at everything I was passionate about and things I had done for fun, and I didn't really know that film could even be a career. I thought it was just like, you know, what like super famous people did, and
Sure.
And if you weren't super famous, then you weren't going to make any money.
Right.
But doing some research, you know, and actually looking at a couple schools and looking at some jobs and things, I thought it was something I was passionate about and at least wanted to explore. And each job is so different, and even if you're doing like the same kinds of videos or the same kinds of film,
Right.
It changes, and you're using different techniques, and you're building your craft to do different things each time. So
Yeah.
that part of it was really exciting to me. Going down there for me was kind of this big dream come true. And Chapman is right next to Disneyland, so like freshman year, a bunch of me and my friends are always going over to Disneyland. I think I went 30 times or something. And,
Yeah.
you know, driving up to downtown LA from Orange County, and you know, going to art museums and going to the beaches. Like all of that was super fun and pretty exciting. So it's definitely a different pace. You know, obviously like a ton of traffic, not super exciting.
Sure.
But dude, like amazing weather, ton of art. There's always something something new happening and going on down there because it's such a cultural hub.
Absolutely.
So that's really exciting.
Cool, because I mean, growing up kind of in Gilroy, you spent a lot of your early years in Gilroy, California.
Word.
You know, it's kind of like Gilroy's not one of those places. I mean, if you're down to get garlic and agricultural stuff, then you're in the right spot. But trying to get inspired to do something creative as far as like with film and whether it be music, because I know you do some of that. Was it difficult trying to get inspired down there in Gilroy?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just, with art in general, you should draw inspiration from wherever you're at. And you know, there's some great artists doing both film or painting or music or whatever, kind of all around the country.
Yeah.
So I think I didn't necessarily struggle with it, but as soon as I was in Southern California, and there's a different energy going on down there, in like this hub where every person I met, especially through school, was passionate about doing the same thing.
Right.
So that's kind of the energy where I think in a smaller town like Gilroy, I was one of the only people I knew who was really passionate about telling stories through film.
Sure.
I had maybe one or two other friends, and then suddenly to transition into an environment where almost every person that I came in contact with was really passionate about doing film.
Right.
Was just inspiring, because you always have people pushing you, people you're looking up to, people who have a totally different style than you, who, you know, it's pretty inspiring just to watch a lot of people working on the same craft that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, just kind of with jumping into that film industry, what are kind of some of the things that you got to be a part of while you're down in LA? Because I mean, you're going to school to study film, but I imagine there's some kind of like internship that's going on that you're able to be a part of. How does that whole process? I mean, you get enrolled in school and then you go down there, and so how do you jump into that field?
Yeah, it was a ton of. So Chapman's different than a lot of other film schools because they're always doing production. So I think it was my first or second week of school, I jumped onto a senior thesis that, you know, is like a $20,000 budget short film that shoots for 6 days, and I was operating a camera that was like $60,000, and just all, you know, stuff I'd never done before in my life. So a lot of starting off was just working on all these student films that are going on, and some of them were great, some of them were terrible, but overall you're learning from all of them.
Right.
And then, yeah, after, like, later on my freshman year, I got plugged in with an internship up in LA for a production company that was working with, like, Red Bull and Nike. So I got to work on a couple bigger projects that they were doing. They were the kinds of videos that I had been inspired by growing up, and so it was a pretty surreal experience just being a part of that, and obviously in a fairly small role because I'm just learning, and I'm an intern, you know, helping, like, you know, paint things or like lock down a location or something. But yeah, just being a part of it was really cool. So through school there was just a ton of opportunities, and professors there are also working on things. Like one of my directing professors was a director on Psych, which was one of my favorite shows growing up, and so like he had directed my favorite episode of that show.
Oh, cool.
And so that was cool, just being able to dialogue with him on like what was it like actually working with, you know, these people that I've looked up to. And
what are kind of some of your influences that got you to jump into film and to want to be a part of that industry?
Man, I think it's kind of twofold. So I mean, one, just on a storytelling side of things, like I loved like English and literature and stories and reading and any kind of way that I can absorb, you know, the experience that somebody else has had that I haven't been able to have. And you were even touching on, you know, like living in Gilroy, it's like, sure, you know, there's not so many things I can do here, but through books or movies or shows, I can now dive into the life of somebody else who is having completely different experiences than I could have.
Right. Absolutely.
And so that has always excited me, and just telling stories and hearing stories and sharing a perspective. And then watching the Invisible Children documentary, and just seeing the impact like that film could have in a real sense of like these were real people doing real things and telling a story that was on the other side of the world for me that I never would have heard about.
Right.
So that I think really unlocked to me like the real, not real, but the practical storytelling power of film.
What are some things that you kind of go and gravitate towards when you're in a spot where you just kind of feel like you're not really at that spot where you can think creatively? Like, what do you do to get to that place?
I mean, I think for me, like drawing inspiration from mediums other than film is where I go. Like, I can watch movies, sure, and love them, but then I think I'm more prone to trying to like copying them.
Right. And then you think you get this great idea, but then it's like you were influenced by somewhere else.
Yeah, it's if I get a great idea from film, then it's like I'm just going to do the great idea the same way that somebody else has already done it.
Right.
And so, yeah, like I actually just recently went to the Broad, which is a new like modern art museum that opened in LA.
Oh, cool.
And that's just like, I think that kind of stuff that's so detached from film that I can just take it in and like really internalize it before it's going to affect anything that I do is pretty inspiring. And just watching how creativity can be unleashed in a bunch of other ways, you know, like
absolutely.
Like that, or even, you know, listening to music or going to a live show or something is super inspiring for me, or hearing other stories or reading. I do a lot of reading. I think that's the closest, another like close second to film, because it's still storytelling. And
sure. Right.
Yeah, I like to try and mix up the mediums as much as I can.
Yeah, no, you definitely the in between that short one that you guys shot with High Tech. But High Tech, like, how does that? I mean, because they just like shipped you stuff, right?
Yeah, it was a friend. I mean, Jeff Stein, who you know, who's a good buddy of mine. He has seen my videos and just talked to like. It's just who you know, man.
That's what he was telling me. He was just at his desk. He was at his desk watching one of your videos, and his boss walks by.
Yeah.
And his boss was like, "Hey, who's this?" And then fast forward, they shipped you some stuff, and you shot some video.
Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, people ask me like, how what's the recipe? What do you do? How do you like be successful? And of course, I'm asking the same questions as well.
Sure.
But in my experience, like every opportunity that I've had, or awesome connection that has clicked has just kind of happened. Like I can't go back and retrace or make something like that happen. So yeah, I made videos of me going on a hike, and Jeff Stein just happened to be watching it at the right place, and his marketing director happened to see it.
Right.
And there we go. So it's like well, how do I do the same thing? It's like, well, I don't know. You can't do that because that just happened. You can't plan it.
I think that was part of the awesomeness of when we shot Grunge. It was just kind of like we were like, hey, we showed up to this old abandoned place. Lifted up some boards. We took about 6 people inside of there, and we shot this video, and we hadn't really done anything like that before. And so it's cool just to jump in there and do something a little bit different. Where I think it popped out to be a little bit better than what was inside my mind and what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, and even that video, it's like I've gotten a couple other jobs from that of just people who happen to see it and be like, hey, I liked this.
Yeah.
It's not like I went out and used it as advertising or anything. It's just it's just there now. And
the story just popped in my head. I think it was just kind of thinking about working with you, and what ended up popping in my mind was when you saved my life.
Oh, I did save your life.
You did save my life. So we're at this youth summer camp, and we're up in Tahoe, and we're over at Eagle Lake, and just a gorgeous hike. You hike out there, and then you actually get a little bit of a bit of a cool down because there's a lake that's there. And so all the high schoolers are jumping in the lake, swimming and all that stuff, going to there's an island that's out there. And I see the people that are jumping in, and I honestly, there's like a pride thing kicked in. I was like, dude, if that person's swimming there, dude, I could totally make it there. I was like, I have some physical fitness to me, and so I jump in this water, and it's cold, it's shock right off the bat because it's so cold. It's summertime, but you're in freaking Tahoe, so jumping in there. So I don't know, the science behind all that and what happened to my muscles, but things started tightening up, and then I was swimming and just got exhausted, dude. And I just started yelling out. And I remember you and another certified lifeguard, both of you in high school, jump off the island, come swim.
Oh no, I wasn't even on the island yet.
Oh, I
was like halfway to the island, and I heard you yelling behind me. So then I turned around, I came back and swam, flipped you on your back. We swam you back. You were all good. You weren't gonna drown. I like to think that I saved your life, but
I don't think I've ever been more scared in my life, dude. I was so tired and exhausted. I just had these thoughts of me sinking to the bottom of the lake. How are they gonna get a helicopter in here? I'm gonna be dead by the time they do. And
we're all glad you're not dead, Corey.
I know, man.
You're welcome. I'm glad you remember that story with fondness.
Yeah, so I think I owe you free haircuts for life or something, dude, because you saved my life.
I'll take that. Sweet.
So, seeing some of your videos and getting inspired to want to get out there and live life more, is that kind of something that you were hoping to do to inspire people to get out, and get from behind the TV and just stop watching Netflix all day long and vegging out?
Yeah, totally. I mean, one thing, it's, you're paying so much to live in California anyway. It's like, well, you can see the ocean, but when's the last time you jumped in the ocean?
Right.
You can look at the trees, but when's the last time that you like stood underneath them and really marveled at like how tall they are?
Absolutely.
So for me, one of my favorite artists, even inspirationally, has been John Foreman throughout my life, and just his music I think is amazing. But one of his songs has the lyrics, "I want to thrive, not just survive," and that's if I could adopt a motto, I'd say that's certainly one of them. And so through doing any sort of adventure film and everything, it's like that's something that I find really life-giving and that I find exciting, and going out, I think that's thriving for me, and a lot of people either don't do that often enough, or haven't like experienced that, or don't think about it. So if I can at all like just share that with other people, and what I think that's a lot of what art is just sharing something that's important to you, like what makes you excited, and can you make somebody else excited about that, like what makes you hurt, can you make somebody else experience what that's like, even through songwriting and stuff. It's like, have you experienced love, have you experienced pain, have you experienced loss? How can you communicate that to somebody else and have somebody else like experience that loss or pain or love with you?
Right.
There's so many dogs. Oh my gosh.
There are a lot of dogs just kind of roaming around. I think they kind of run the streets over here.
It's like getting excited and dogs, getting outside with the dogs.
Right? Yeah.
No, I mean, so for me, it's like getting outside is just, that rejuvenates me, and like I think brings some life into my soul. And so that if I can share that excitement with somebody else, and if one other person is like, yeah, I want to do that too, and they get out and get to experience that, then great. I don't know if it's such a high view of saying it's art, but in communication, that's my goal.
Right. Yeah, totally. Can you think of a time when you were just like, was there ever a point when you were in school and you were just like, dude, I'm done. I'm not inspired. I just want to leave.
I dropped out of school. That was a good leading question, Corey.
He
already knows. He knows all the answers, guys. So.
Were you listening to a lot of like Kanye West College Dropout during this time?
Yeah, it was just like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, all these guys were great. They just left, and so I was like, I need to do that too. I need to be dramatic.
Like, I'm out of here.
It was just an angsty response. No. It was. Well, I don't know. What do you want me to talk about in that?
Because you returned back to school.
Yeah.
What were kind of some of the things that you were feeling?
He's giving away the end of the story.
What's kind of like, what was going through your mind like when you dropped out? Were you looking at some of these other people who were deemed as successful and like, oh dude, they didn't go through school. Like I don't have to do this way.
Yeah, it was kind of a mix for me. But after going for a year, I had always kind of been questioning throughout the whole first year that I was at school, going like, is this really worth it? Like, man, school's super expensive. I know my parents are sacrificing a ton to be able to make me go here. Is this really like the ticket to get me where I want to be? And at the end of a year, I was going, man, I think the most experience that I got was being on films outside of school. Like you were saying, the internships and stuff, like that's, going out and like actually practicing my craft is where I was getting better at it, not in the classroom. And so after a year, I was like, I just don't think this is worth it. I think I can learn these things without going to school for it.
Sure.
So I gave it a shot. I dropped out for a year, moved back up here, and was working at a church for a little bit. I did a couple classes while I was here, just because my mom, like appease her while I practiced art or whatever. Sure. And I did some filmmaking up here. Like I did a couple music videos. I worked on some commercials for stuff with a couple production companies. Worked with Google. Did like a self-driving car project. Worked with them. So like I was doing work, and it was really exciting. And skipping to where after a year being back up here, I did end up going back to school, and a lot of that for me was just the community, like the creative community. And I'm certainly an introvert, and am not like the best at networking. It's the thing that I have to work on. And so abandoning a school of other creative people that are all practicing my craft, and still being friends with them on Facebook and stuff, and just seeing the stuff they were working on, and having the opportunity to do after a year of being away from that, I was like, well, sure, I might not be learning stuff in the classroom, but these are the people that I want to create with.
Right.
And if that means that I have to go through school with them and experience it, if at the end of that I'm going to have these relationships with other people that inspire me and can collaborate with me, and I can collaborate with them and everything, then I think that's worth it. Right. So yeah, I went back, and like definitely with a different mindset. I think I probably gained a lot more from it after returning to school.
Yeah.
So they went in with a different perspective, and like, sure, it's not, I'm gonna have classes that were boring and not super exciting that I didn't necessarily learn from, but it's the people and the relationships and those kind of projects that were just still really exciting to be a part of.
Whether it's exploring LA's wilderness scene or directing behind a camera, Aaron continues to open himself to opportunities of adventure. His journey has gotten him to do some cool things and to be a part of some great projects, but it's the network of people around him that seems to inspire him most. Surrounding ourselves with people who have our best interests at heart, who are committed to rich fellowship with us, and who are excited with us about our dreams will ultimately help us to not be afraid and to get out there and to live life to the best of our ability. What are some last thoughts that you have? You got any inspiring quotes or something that we can feed the people with?
Just for myself, I think where I'm at with just trying to create and obviously just jumping into this, full time.
Absolutely.
The biggest thing that's inspiring me right now is just to do what you're afraid of, and I think the more afraid you are of whatever art you're trying to accomplish, the more that leans toward that you should be doing it. If it scares you, it has to be done. If it scares you to say, it needs to be said. If it scares you to accomplish, it needs to be done. So
yeah,
just embracing that unknown, embracing the mystery of that, and just. Hey, it kind of works out with you in the show and everything. If it scares you, do it.
Yeah,
so, I hope this scares you.
Jumping out of that comfort zone and
exactly.
moving away from the things that make us that are safe. I appreciate that. How can people follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram at AJ Rickel, Rickel, or Facebook. You can Google me. I think I'm on Google. I have poetry and a blog. You can follow. Just Google it. You can. There has to be some mystery in that.
Your name will fall up.
Yeah. Just Google Aaron Rickel. I'm all over the internet. I can.
Awesome. Well, Aaron, thanks a lot for being on the show, man.
Thank you for the great haircut and shave.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed your time inside the parlor. You can subscribe and hit the like button on YouTube, or you can go ahead and leave a generous amount of stars and a review if you're listening to the podcast. We can connect on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Inside the Parlor. More content and appointment for hair services can be found at InsideTheParlor.com. Thank you so much for tuning in.